What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to be discussing and I'm going to be talking about my experiences dating as a guy with tattoos. However, before I get into that, there's two things that I want to make abundantly clear first. Number one, there is absolutely nothing that you can do that will turn you from an unattractive guy to an attractive guy. And getting a tattoo is absolutely not included within that. If you want to become more attractive, you need to work on your overall style, your body, your confidence, and your charisma. You do not want to be wasting your time getting tattoos hoping that that's going to be the game changer. And number two, do not ever get a tattoo for the sake of the approval of other people. They are such a personal thing. They are something that you have to love, and it has to be something that you choose for you. And unfortunately, I think there are plenty of guys that get tattoos hoping that it is going to make them more attractive to women, and it just doesn't, quite frankly. So with that out of the way, let's get into it and let's discuss my personal experiences. Okay, so experience number one, and probably the broadest place to start within this discussion. Do I think women like men with tattoos? Well, it's going to be kind of hard for me to say, right? Because most women that are going to be on dates with me probably do like men with tattoos. However, if I think of conversations that I've had, I think of personal feedback, and I look at the experiences of other guys that don't have tattoos, I would say it largely kind of comes down to this kind of category. I would say 50% of women are largely unbothered. They see tattoos as very normal. They see tattoos as something that are a part of everyday life and everyday culture. And as a result, they're not particularly engaged and they don't particularly care. They may ask you a couple of questions. They may ask you why you've got specific tattoos, but it's not going to be a game changer and it's not going to be a deal breaker. They'll just see it as a part of you. Then I would say that 20% of women just don't like them. They may tell you that you'd be more attractive without them. They may unmatch you on dating apps when they realise that you've got them. Or they may just quite frankly say to you that you just would look better without them and they prefer it if you didn't have them. If anybody thinks that about your tattoos, probably not the person that you want to date. But I think it should be acknowledged. There are some women that don't like tattoos. There are some women that have very negative connotations about tattoos. And there are some women who just will not look at you because of them. However, I would say that there are 30% of women that find them very attractive. And when I say very attractive, I mean that they'll ask you a lot of questions about them. They'll be really intrigued by them. They may tell you that they find specific tattoos that you've got really sexy. And they may even look at it as a potential way of flirting with you and pass particular compliments on them. And another observation I've got as well when I've used dating apps is that women that find them sexy will ask you to send pictures of their tattoos because they want to see a better picture of them and they want to build up that understanding of it. So I wouldn't say that tattoos are largely going to be a game changer, as I've said before, but I do think that there are some women who will find them interesting, sexy, and just generally intriguing, and also just as a catalyst to wanting to get to know you more. And then the second observation that I've got links into that as well. Tattoos are a really, really good way of building rapport. So you may have noticed this, right? And you may even personally have experienced this. Dog owners always bond really quickly. They always discuss their dog. They've always got conversations for the other dog owner as to what their dog's like. They want to show pictures of each other's dogs to each other. And I think it's really intriguing because it just shows the power of commonality. Tattoos, and I also would say piercings too, but definitely tattoos, are something that have really, I've experienced, been a great way of doing that. So I've had women, as an example, that have been really interested in getting their first tattoo, want to discuss that tattoo with me. I've had women that are intrigued by my tattoos, ask questions and want to get to know more. And with that notion, I've then been able to do the same thing and ask women who have had tattoos what their tattoos mean to them. It is a really good way of building rapport and it is a really good way of building commonality. And I think that this is actually something that's really powerful in the current Western dating climate. If you consider that most dating tends to take place online, and as a result it's very hard to build a connection with someone, and it's actually very hard to build rapport with someone, having anything that gives commonality and a shared interest is a really powerful way of doing that. And I think because tattoos are largely visible, it's a very open way of saying this is what I'm interested in, this is a part of my identity, and this is something that I think we should discuss. And it is definitely noticeable how I have built up rapport with girls with tattoos very quickly just because we both have them. And I think as well, because I'm relatively largely tattooed as well, there have been some women that have seen me as somewhat of an expert when it comes to tattooing as well, meaning that they've also then come to me from a place of wanting my insight and wanting my expertise and wanting my knowledge. And again, that's another really powerful way of building up a rapport and building up an interesting dynamic. My next observation that I've had dating as a guy with tattoos, just the personal feeling that I get as a result of having them. So I'm lucky, right? I had my first tattoo done about 8 years ago, and I still love all my tattoos. I wouldn't change a single thing about them. And for me, that gives me a lot of confidence. So I find, as an example, that if I'm out on a date and I'm wearing a jacket and I take off that jacket and I'm wearing a t-shirt, I feel strong and I feel confident and I feel quite masculine. And feeling masculine is actually something that's really important to me. But I also notice too, and as I've said, it shouldn't be about this when you get tattoos, people look at my arms particularly. People are observing my arms. People are trying to work out what specific tattoos I've got mean. People wonder if specific tattoos I've got hurt and what the story is behind them. And it just adds a very different dynamic. And I've had this on dates before where I've taken off a jacket and I've just been in a t-shirt, and I've had some very, very, very thirsty looks from women that I've been on dates with. And they've been studying and they've been observing and they've been really quite fixated on my arms. Now, I've worked out for a while, and even before I had tattoos, I used to get a fair amount of compliments on my arms because I'd like to think that they are one of my best physical assets. But I find that with tattoos, not only is there an element of some women finding them attractive, there's an element of some women finding it really intriguing and really interesting and wanting to know more. And I think that that's something that I just really like, and something that for me really does help to exaggerate my confidence. But I'll also say on that note as well, I would have the same confidence wearing a t-shirt regardless of what the woman who I was on a date with thought. And that is because I like my tattoos and I like the meaning behind my tattoos. And I think, again, as I said, linking back to what I said at the start, it should be exactly the same for you. Next observation I have had from dating as a guy with tattoos. You'll attract a lot more liberal women. So again, this may be good for you, this may be bad for you, depending on what your preference is. But I find, generally speaking, that the women that really like tattoos are the one with more liberal views, the ones that are slightly more progressive in their way of thinking, and the ones that don't tend to hold very conservative views or attitudes to the world. Now, if you're attracted to women that have conservative views, that may be a bad thing for you. But if your type is more liberal women with more forward thinking and progressive views, tattoos will probably be something that will make you more attractive to those women. So again, not a deal breaker, but something that I've definitely noticed several times through feedback and my own experiences. And then my final observation, and I think that this is probably one of the more powerful ones, but also one of the ones that may be a good thing and a bad thing. You're going to become a little bit more of a niche. So niching for me is a really powerful thing in dating, and niching for me is a point that I think everybody should get to in their dating life. So when I say niching, what I really mean is being attractive to a smaller group of people, but being very attractive to that group of people. So just to talk about that in a little bit more of a practical level, just imagine how you were in your late teens and your early 20s. I would imagine that if there were 10 women in the room, you wanted to be attractive to all 10 of those women. Again, I think that's human nature. When you're younger, you care a lot more about what people think. When you're younger, you actively crave people's approval a lot more. However, when you get older, something tends to shift in your mind. And this has been one of the most powerful things for me. But that shift that I've had in my mind is, rather than being attractive to all of those 10 women, I would rather be really attractive to one of those 10 women. And I think the more you embrace a look, the more you become a degree of a type, the more you increase the chance of that happening. So generally speaking, I tend to find, because I've got a nose ring, because my ear's pierced, because I work out, and because I've got tattoos, I fall very much into the category of a type. And that often generally tends to mean that if one woman is interested in me, she tends to be very interested in me. But of course, the other side of that, and the negative side of that, is that I lose some women on the way who just don't like the particular type that I represent to them. But that's fine. This is a part of growing up, and this is a part of realizing that you're not going to appeal to and you're not going to be attractive to everyone. But the minute you become that niche, you begin to have a degree of control in your dating life. And you'll find that you'll get less dates with less people, but you'll have much better quality dates, because the people that you're going on dates with you will be very interested in you, very vocal at showing that interest normally, and actually very keen in seeing where it can go. So niching is great, niching is powerful, but you have to be in the right headspace before you're ready for that. So if you're thinking of being tattooed, I wouldn't do that, because you're going to be a niche in all aspects of life. You'll be a niche in terms of how people at work see you, you'll be a niche in terms of how your friends see you, and you'll absolutely be a niche in your dating life as well. So definitely something to be mindful of, and definitely a strong personal observation that I've got. So to round off, I think this is the most important thing to say. I love tattoos. I've always been intrigued by tattoos, and I've always just found tattoos something that I knew that I would end up having. But my thought process has never been about getting tattoos to be attractive. So as I end this video, that is the mindset that I encourage every single one of you to have. And if you're considering getting a tattoo, make sure that you absolutely love it. You're excited by the thought of it, and you know that in 10 years time, you're still gonna like it, and there's still gonna be some meaning behind that for you as well. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please can I ask you to click like and subscribe down below. And if you really liked it, I am also offering one-on-one coaching at the website also down below. But as always guys, nothing but love. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.